What's up, y'all? Hope you're having an amazing day, and welcome to my new series, Journey to Corporate. So basically, what this will be is it's gonna be my journey throughout my college years and helping me find my first job after graduation. I'm gonna take you guys through all the steps that I'm doing, the professional development, the networking, the programs I get into, application process, everything that goes into this. I'm gonna be taking you guys through this so you guys will have a behind the scenes visual, and you can see all the mistakes I made, the good things I do, so it can help you in your professional journey. So I've already started doing something similar to this on my TikTok. It's called Mission Internship, and basically that's doing the same thing but for me getting my summer 2026 internship. This is going to be a prolonged version of that. So if you guys have anything specific you want to see me go over, or specific parts of the process you want to see, definitely let me know down in the comments. But yeah, I'm going to be highlighting the interview process, tips and tricks, networking. But yeah, any progress that I make going towards giving me that full-time job, I'll be making sure to update it here on this channel. So if you guys want to see something specific, again, let me know in the comments. Aside from that, let's get into it. So before we start, I have to bring y'all back to the beginning of freshman year and everything that I had planned and everything I've done up until this point. So going into freshman year, I really had about 4 main goals. The first one was network. I knew network was everything, so I had to expand my network professionally and also at Howard. Second thing was student leadership. I knew I needed to get student leadership positions because, that looks good on the resume and it's great practice for me being in these scenarios. The third was I needed technical experience. Coming in, I didn't really know a lot about finance, no Excel skills, none of that. So I needed technical and then also professional experience. So going to different events, setting myself up, knowing the jargon, knowing how to, act in a corporate setting. And the last thing was I needed to set myself up for the future. So the way I was envisioning that was joining different programs, fellowships, clubs, but things that would pipeline me into internships or opportunities that would eventually give me a full-time offer. So these are my 4 main objectives. And of course, I had the things that were given besides that, which is having a good GPA, having a balance of everything else. But going in, I knew if I wanted to be successful, I had to do those 4 things. And then if I did those 4 things, the last thing, which is obviously the most important, is just setting yourself apart from everybody else. You have to find a way to be different from everybody else. So I knew if I handled those 4 things and did those excellently, then the last one would just come by default. So let's get into it, how I actually did these 4 things. So the first one is network. Now, going into Howard, I really didn't know anybody. The reason why I chose Howard is because I had a few people that I knew that went to Howard, but they had already graduated, so they were gone. I literally knew one person who I met at this one Deloitte event, and I was able to, rely heavily on him in the beginning of my year. I didn't have a lot of other contacts to kind of show me the ropes and tell me things to do, things not to do. So I had to develop and form these different relationships and networks. And how I started off was just talking to people. So the way Howard is set up is the first week you actually get onto campus, you don't have a lot of classes. You're just mainly meeting people. They have activities planned for you, so you can use that time to get to know everybody. Within the business school, we have the 21 CAT program, and we have a thing before that. And basically, the business school, the council, they'll basically just be showing you the ins and outs of the business school, lots of different panels, great time to network. So what I was doing was, after every single event, I'd be the first one there, the last one to leave. They'd have a panel, I'd be the one waiting in line to go talk to the people, get their LinkedIn, get their information. When I say I spread my network so wide that first week, I would say we'd have around maybe like 3 to 4 different events for actually for that day. And after the end of those events, they'd allow you to go up on the stage and talk to the people who just finished talking. So I'd go up there and talk to them, even if I didn't see something in them to want to get to know them. I was like, why not go talk to them? So I'll go talk to them, just tell them my name and everything. I'll make sure to say that, make sure you say your name when you're doing these things so people actually remember you. But I would say my name, go up with them and talk to them. And then after that, get their LinkedIn and then keep them in mind when I'm applying for things and things like that. But the key thing is you can't just get their LinkedIn and that be it. You gotta follow up. So I'd be getting these people's LinkedIns and information, and then also take notes. Take notes for everything so you can remember how you met them, what you talked about with them and everything like that. So what I was doing though, I'd get their LinkedIn, finish the day, go back, and then since I have their LinkedIn already, I have their email. So what I'd be doing is I'd have what I talked about. For example, if they were talking about investments, right? And they're talking about how Howard is great setting you up for getting an internship in investments. I would go talk to that person, ask them about their internship in investments, how they got it, how they're enjoying it, everything like that. And then get their LinkedIn. The next day, I send a follow email. Hey, it was so nice to meet you yesterday. My name is Joseph. We talked briefly about investments. I really enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to staying in contact in the future. So what this does is it creates a bond, because a lot of people are going to talk to them after, but a smaller amount of people are going to actually follow up and have tangible things, not just it was great speaking with you, but actually saying, hey, this is what I learned from our conversation, and this is how I want to stay in contact in the future. So I was doing that for almost every single person, and this actually paid dividends in the future. So that was the first type of networking I was doing. I call that's just like maybe just common networking, kind of just getting your name out there. But then I have to be more strategic in my networking. For example, there was a club that I wanted to join. At Howard, if you come to Howard, you'll learn that everything is competitive. You can't just join clubs. You have to apply, interview, you have to go through a whole lot of steps. So there was a club that I wanted to join, and it was pretty competitive to get into. They were only accepting 30 people, including freshmen and sophomores. I think over like 150, 200 people were applying. So it wasn't just guaranteed that you would be able to get in. So what I did, the applications didn't come out until I think mid-September, and we got there mid-August. So I found out about the club one of the first, probably like the first week that we were there, when we were hearing everything from the council. They were talking about opportunities, and they mentioned that club. So what I started doing was being strategic in my networking. I looked up the club, I found out who was on the club, and I started being specific and targeting them and getting to meet them. So I'd see them in the hall, I'd recognize their face, I'd be like, oh, hey, are you a part of this club? And they'd be like, yes. I'd ask them questions. Mind you, most of the time, the questions I was asking, I probably already knew the answer to it, but that wasn't the main point. It wasn't really to learn about the club, but just to get my name out there and be a familiar face for that club. And when I tell you it was competitive, there was 3 rounds for the club. You had to submit your application, do a video application, then do an interview, and you'd get in after that. So when I with that club, very strategic, right? I met a whole bunch of people who were not just in the club, but on the e-board for that club. So I was always talking to them, asking them tips. So when it came time to apply, I had 3 different people send me the application. I was like, oh yeah, please, when the application's open, definitely send me that so I can, be able to be one of the first people to apply, all that. So I had about 6 or 7 people vouching for me, and I'd be able to call on them to actually help me with the application, to know what they want to see in the application. And then moving on to the video interview, because they had done the same thing the previous years, I was able to see the what the previous people were looking for in the application and what this current e-board was actually looking to see within the application. So I was able to do that. I did the interview. I did the video interview first, which is like just me like this in front of a screen talking about why I should join the club, why I'm good for the club, use like a lot of the keywords that the people within the club were telling me to do. And then was the actual interview. Now, because I had networked with so many of the people within the club, when I got to the interview, the person interviewing me was somebody that I already talked to. They knew my name, we were really cool, and it wasn't really even a technical interview. When we got into the interview room, we were just talking. It was just a conversation. We didn't really talk about the club that much. We talked about it for a little bit, but for the most part, he was just asking me, like, as a friend, because I got to know him, about my Howard experience, how I've been enjoying it. So the interview wasn't hard at all. And after I got out the interview, I was like, wow, that was easy, and I was pretty sure I got it. So the key thing is, I wouldn't have been able to be so confident within myself if I didn't network. So that was the number one thing, networking with that. There was other ways I built my network off of that, but it really stemmed from those first couple weeks at Howard, being very intentional about having open networking with everybody, and then finding your goals and being strategic with your networking, which is the second thing I did. All right, now my second goal for my freshman year was student leadership. I knew that what companies are looking for is people that are separating themselves and can prove that they are in some type of leadership roles. So I knew I needed to be in some type of role that as fast as possible. So when I was researching different ways that Howard, gave you the opportunity to find these roles, the first thing that came to mind was the freshman council for the business school. So literally what happened with that was someone came up to me and they're like, hey, I'm thinking about running for freshman council. Would you be interested in running with me? I was like, perfect. I was always thinking about it. So I was like, boom, let's do that. So what we did, it was about me and a team of 9 other people. And we put together our council. The way that it works, there's 4 elected positions, and we had a campaigning team behind us. So we put together our positions, and we got to work. We were basically, planning, branding on how we wanted to campaign and everything like that. And yeah, we got to work. So there's 4 of us. I was running for the treasurer position for the freshman council. And when it was come time for campaigning, it was extremely, extremely competitive. This was actually the most competitive freshman council class campaign that there's been. I think there was like 4 or 5 different slates, and then you had people running individually. So we chose to run together as a group and other people running individually. But basically, what we did during campaigning, we were out there 2 to 3 times every single day within the span of 2 weeks. I was able to get a sponsorship, so we didn't have to pay for anything. And then, but yeah, we were out there campaigning. Come time for election results, you're not elected as a slate. So if we all run on the same team, it's possible that one person can get elected and the other ones don't. And that actually happened with us. So for freshman council, when we did the elections, 3 people out of my slate won, but our vice president didn't win, and someone from a different slate, their vice president won. So it was the 3 people from my council and 1 person from a different council. But this was a great first stepping stone for me, because what this did is the way freshman council set up, there's executive council, then there's freshman council, then there's committees under that. So being in freshman council, we got firsthand access to all the juniors and seniors who were on executive council. So we were able to hear about their experiences. We were able to get really close to them. The other treasurer, because I was a freshman council treasurer, so the executive council treasurer, I worked really closely with her over these times because we had to work together to like plan out the budget and everything, and I was leaning on her because it's kind of like show me what to do and everything. And she actually became one of my good mentors who helped me on the professional side too when it came for applying for things and things of that nature. So this was the really big stepping stone for me because I was a familiar face in the freshman class. A lot of people knew me from campaigning. And then, I mean, outside of professional development, it was really cool getting to meet a whole lot of people through campaigning. So that was definitely a big benefit for me. It was so beneficial to me that I campaigned again for executive council the second semester. So the way how it works, there's fall semesters, which are it's less competitive, and then there's the spring campaigns, and that is extremely competitive. This is when like you have Mr. and Miss Howard run, you have those elections, the royal court ones, and then you have the council ones. So I was the treasurer for the freshman class, right? For the fall semester and spring semester, I won that election, and I was the treasurer for that freshman year. Now, spring semester, I was asked to campaign by a few different people, and ultimately I ended up campaigning again with my mentor, who was a treasurer for the council for executive council. So I campaigned with her again, but mainly the reason why I wanted to do this was to continue to expand my reach and build upon the leadership that I already built before. So we campaigned again. This one was actually a lot more smoother because I was going with people who were older than me, who had previously campaigned, and we all had experience in like campaigning within the realm, and our network was like spread wide between our slate. So we campaigned again, and again, we got 3 out of our 4 that won. So we have our new council, and I'm now in a leadership position again. So sophomore year, I'll be serving as the executive council treasurer for the business school. Now, the main reason I wanted these, again, as I mentioned, was to put myself into positions where I'm different than everybody else. I can say that I have a position that nobody else has, and that separates me from the average student at Howard. And companies like this because I'll be managing different teams, and that's a huge responsibility, and that's what you'll see a lot in a professional workplace is, yeah, you have to have the technical skills, but you also need those soft skills, and those only get developed through experience. And I'm getting this experience young, like as a freshman through freshman council. I'll be getting it more through my other leadership position with executive council. The third thing was developing myself career-wise, professionally, and technically. And while all the Howard stuff is good, that doesn't mean a lot to when you get to the actual business world. You have to have connections outside of Howard, people who are already in these roles. You can use them to your advantage to help you develop your career as well. So I did a lot of career development things. I'll show like a little screenshot right here of all the things that I applied to and actually got into, but it was a lot. A few of the highlights was the Vanguard case competition. So what this was, Vanguard came onto campus and they hosted a wealth management case competition. And basically this is my first time doing anything like this, so it was really new, but we had people from Vanguard who were helping us do it. So I did that, and we actually ended up getting second place. So that was really good, allocating a portfolio for a retirement couple, for a couple that was about to retire. So we did that. That was great exposure for me. I was able to talk about that whenever I have interviews. They ask about professional experience, things like that, and I can always talk about that. Now, I had a few other small things I did that first semester, but the bulk of my career development really came over winter break and second semester. Now, winter break was a big time for me. I was seeing everybody else getting internships and everything, so I was like, I gotta step up my game because I was still waiting to get my internship. So I was going crazy with applying to things. I was reaching out to random recruiters. I was emailing professionals, just trying to get some type of experience. So one of the things that did stick was the Cambridge Basis Point program. Now this program was it was a thing based in Boston. It was the first time, I think it was the first time that I actually got flown out by a program. But it was me, it was only other sophomores. The only people that were freshmen was me and two other Howard students, and it was across all HBCUs, and the rest of them were all in they're all sophomore years. So this program was for investment management, and it gave us like a high level look at it through different lenses, and it was really cool to get that. But they paid for everything. We were in Boston, we got to meet with the CEO, we got to connect with a whole bunch of professionals, and it was a great time overall. I really got to see like the professional workplace for the first time, like the culture, like the things, and I kind of learned like what I want in a company, like things that I want, things that I don't want. So that was like the first real career development thing that I actually had to do. And then after that, I just got rolling with a whole bunch more things. The next thing that I applied to and got into was a Fidelity Dice program. And this was, this actually didn't happen until the summer, but it was sessions that we did leading up to that. So there are some things that we got to learn, and basically we do things like that. So those were some of the main career things I did. Other smaller things that I did was there's a Scholars of Finance trip that I went on. There was also a few things that I applied to that I'm going to this summer. During the school year, I went to UF for this wealth management conference where I got to network with a whole lot of individuals through there. But yeah, on top of that, I applied to these small little discovery programs, and these companies would just either Uber us or fly us to their company for a few days, and I get to see that. This summer though has been a lot because I really want to step up with my career development. So I mentioned Fidelity, right? So the DICE program, basically what it does, you start off with around 100 people within the Zoom calls, and they would whittle it down and to about, I think we had 30 or 40 the last Zoom call, and then we had interviews to see who got to go to Boston for early interviews for their internship program. So I did well in the interview, the behavioral interview, and they invited me to Boston. So they flew me out to Boston, and I was able to go there for the first time, see the office. We had one day of networking, and then we had the interviews the next day. So I had interviewed for an asset management position with DICE in this program. If I was able to get this, I would be able to basically work there summer 2026 and return for 27, and then full-time offer after. Unfortunately for me, didn't get that position, so I was able to get the experience and connections, and I'm definitely keeping those, but I wasn't able to secure the internship. So the next thing that I was doing, I was invited to a Johnson & Johnson program. This is called the Pioneers program. Now, Johnson & Johnson is a medical company, but every company has financials behind it, so there's a lot of different teams that they have that dealt with numbers and finances, in addition to like accounting and audit. There's also like, you had A&D teams that were looking at similar to like mergers and acquisitions, but it was called acquisitions and divestitures. And they're just talking about acquiring different companies. But there's a lot of different little finance sectors that you can apply to within that company. So I got into that program. I got to go to New Jersey, Johnson & Johnson headquarters, and I talked with them, and I kind of learned about what they did. And they said if we wanted to apply, we could, and it would be put in like a different bucket because we were part of the Pioneers program first. So I did that too. Other things that I have planned for the summer that are career development, PwC career preview. I'll be attending that, and then I'm also going to the Capital One Launchpad event. That's going to be a week long. I'm going to be in Virginia at the Capital One offices, and it is, it's not early interviews, but you're also put into a different bucket as a Launchpad participant. And then I'm also doing an online BNY program, which also does put you in a separate bucket when it's time for internships. So these are all things that I applied to throughout, I think, second semester. There are discovery programs that I applied to and got into that are setting me up for a 2026 internship or a 2027 internship. The fourth thing that I had to do, kind of building off the career and professional development side, was set myself up for the future by getting into different pipelines and fellowships that will, be recurring things that would help me grow as I did that. So the first kind of one that I got into was one at Howard. We have a HPS Center for Financial Excellence. And basically this program gives you technical skills and helps you with this. So on the technical side, I was going to different sessions that they would have on Fridays. Within the business school, we don't actually have classes Friday. So use that day to kind of like build yourself up technically. So I applied to that, and I was able to go into the pre-academy, and I was able to go to these different sessions and be able to learn more technical skills. I'm going to apply to that actually in the fall, the actual program. And if I get into that, that will be separate as well. They'll have mandatory things you have to go to. They also have scholarships and sponsors as well. But another thing that I recently applied to and was able to get accepted into was the AltFinance Fellowship. Now this was a huge achievement for me because they give what they give is they give interviews. So instead of having to apply, you already get put in a separate bucket and you have a secured interview. But on top of that, what they also do is they give you lots of experience and they build your technical knowledge. So basically, this is for alternative investments. So things like private equity, venture capital, private credit, things like that. Not your usual investments, but alternative investments. And they were actually given a grant of $90 million from 3 companies, Aries, Apollo, and Oaktree. And these companies are invested into the careers of us. So I was able to apply to that, and I got into that. And this is pipelining us for different internships and things, and it's really setting us up for the future. Now, another thing I applied for is the Greenwood Project. It's very similar to AltFinance, but it's not as niche. AltFinance is a very niche sector of finance. The Greenwood Project is more broad, and it's over more than just specifically alternative investments. So with the Greenwood Project, they also give interviews and they prep you up, and they'll fly you out to a few places so you can learn and get technical experience, and then they give interviews as well at their company sponsors. But yeah, that's just a quick overview of the things I did my freshman year to kind of put me in a position to get my full-time and corporate job at a step. So the first thing is internship. So that's what I'm focusing on right now is 2026 internship. Recently I applied to a Vanguard internship. I got the interview for that. I just had my interviews 2 days ago. So I'll be hearing back from that, and that'll be a great update for me because those is recurring internships. So if you do good for the first one, they'll invite you back for another one and then invite you back for a full-time offer. So I got into that, or I'm hoping I get into that. I hope I get the internship with that. But yeah, on top of that, still applying to internships, seeing what sticks, seeing what lands, and figuring it out. As for career interests, I'm mainly interested in asset management, which if you don't know, asset management is basically just when you're looking at different things to invest in. It can be stocks, it can be other things, but basically, yeah, managing different investments and making good returns. So that's really what I want to go towards my career-wise, and I'm setting myself up now from doing internships and applying to those and seeing if one sticks and lands. So moving forward, my first goal is to get a 2026 internship. So I'll be bringing you guys through that process. I'll keep you guys updated on any updates that do happen with that. But if there's anything that I talked about that piques your interest, let me know and I can make a video about that. I'm planning on expanding on each of these, 4 main points because they are extremely crucial for if you want to be successful in college. So I'll make videos on that. But if there's something specific that you want to see about the journey, definitely let me know in the comments. And before you go, if you made it this far, please like and subscribe and send to a friend who's either going to Howard or interested in finance. I'll see you on the next one.